crappie game. It just doesn't get any better.
The smallmouth here in Champlain is phenomenal.
Hey guys, we are back, and thank you again for tuning into another weekend roundup. Hi, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy, host and fellow angler. Great to see you guys today. Boy, look at the weather. It's 71 degrees right now in Poconos. What a great day. How can it get any better? I hope you guys are out doing a little fishing. You know, we have a great show lined up. We got Lonnie Stanley's going to join us. I am tickled pink. Unfortunately, he's not going to be live, but we interviewed him earlier, so we're going to play that back. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. But before we jump into that, I got a few folks to thank. Got to thank Finseeker Guide Service. You know, Tim Keebler's got that the trips on the Delaware River. Things are picking up, guys. You got to book Tim now. 215-262-4811. You know, we got everything for the spring. You got some striper still around. We're going to have some muskie. Well, you got everything. So be sure you give Tim a call. Again, 215-262-4811. Book your trip now for the season. Also, Stanley Jigs. You know, Stanley's been putting bass in boats for 40 years. They do a great job. Got some great baits. Be sure you check out Stanley on their website. That's fishstanley.com. Stanley Jigs. Check them out. Also, Tony Maja products. You know, Tony's got all those things for the fall run. Them striper will be running down the coast in a couple more weeks. So be sure you got all your stuff ready. Those number 4 spoons, number 3 spoons, those big mojos, because the bite will be on and you don't want to miss that. Also, thefisherman.com. You know, Jim Hutchinson gives us the story every week, what's happening down the shore. Check him out, thefisherman.com. And you might even catch me, give me a little advice, what's happening right here in the Poconos. So like we said, we got a great show lined up. We got Lonnie Stanley, and I had a chance to talk to them, and it was so cool talking with a legend in the bass industry. And I hope you guys like this interview as well. We're going to kick it over to Lonnie here. This is recorded actually earlier, and let's see what Lonnie has to say about some of this fishing here in the Poconos. Well, hey guys, how we doing? I got the pros out here today, and I want to tell you, there's nothing better talking to a pro when you've got this really hot weather that we've been up against the past few weeks. So we're going to bring in Lonnie Stanley today, and he's going to tell us a little bit about how to get on these fish when this really hot weather and how to work some of these jigs for success. Let's bring in Lonnie Stanley. How about that? How you doing today, Lonnie?
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, great. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, it's really a pleasure talking to someone with your kind of experience. And I'm hoping we can get some tips from you on how we can beat this hot weather and get on some of these bass in the summertime here.
Yeah, well, I think the best tip I could give right now is get up real early, fish till about 11 o'clock, go eat some hamburgers somewhere, and come back out about 4 o'clock and go fishing.
Fishing again, right?
That's one deal, but that's what we do down here in Texas right now. I think today's high is about 100, with a heat index of 105, 106. And so, you know, if you're going to carry your family out fishing or anything, you better really do it before 10:30, 11.
Yeah. But down in Texas, how you guys making out with all this COVID stuff? You guys okay down there? Everybody safe?
Well, our county count is about doubled in a month. But other than that, you know, everybody's got their mask on now finally. And good Lord has blessed us when nobody in my family's had it. Clifford's sister's got it, but I think she's going to be okay. And
okay, good.
We had a couple of workers at Stanley Jigs have it, but they all recovered. But it's, you know, when you're going on 75, it's kind of scary to go.
Well, hey guys, I got a little bit of a technical thing here. I'll get this fixed up in 1 second. Just hang tight, and we'll get back into that interview with Lonnie Stanley. So just bear with me 1 second. Again, that was a great interview. I didn't want to. Sorry to interrupt that. Let's kick back into that real quick. Well, hey guys, how we doing? I got the pros out here today, and I want to tell you, there's nothing better talking to a pro when you've got this really hot weather that we've been up against the past few weeks. So we're going to bring in Lonnie Stanley today, and he's going to tell us a little bit about how to get on these fish when this really hot weather and how to work some of these jigs for success. Let's bring in Lonnie Stanley. How about that? How you doing today, Lonnie?
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, great. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, it's really a pleasure talking to someone with your kind of experience. and I'm hoping we can get some tips from you on how we can beat this hot weather and get on some of these bass in the summertime here.
Yeah, well, I think the best tip I could give right now is get up real early, fish till about 11 o'clock, go eat some hamburgers somewhere, and come back out about 4 o'clock and go fishing.
Fishing again, right?
That's one deal, but that's what we do down here in Texas right now. I think today's high is about 100, with a heat index of 105, 106. And so, you know, if you're going to carry your family out fishing or anything, you better really do it before 10:30, 11.
Yeah. But down in Texas, how you guys making out with all this COVID stuff? You guys okay down there? Everybody safe?
Well, our county count is about doubled in a month, but other than that, you know, everybody's got their mask on now finally, and good Lord has blessed us when nobody in my family's had it. Clifford's sister's got it, but I think she's going to be okay. And
okay, good
we
to
had
hear.
a couple of workers at Stanley Jigs have it, but they all recovered. But it's, you know, when you're going on 75, it's kind of scary to go talking about it. And we have had some friends that a lot younger and a lot better shape than I am that didn't make it. So
wow, that's a shame.
we're just making whatever the good Lord gets us through right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys stay safe down there and give our best to everyone.
Okay. Yeah, we will. It's like I said a while ago when we were talking about the heat and stuff, and we're having probably the best year at Stanley Jigs for selling lures ever since the virus.
Right.
I hate to say it's been good for us for Stanley Jigs for selling baits, not for everything else, but a lot of people like to frog fish, and we sell tons of frogs through the summertime. That's one of the best patterns. If you're gonna go out and have fun in the middle of summertime, you know, early and late, you know, you're frog fishing or spinnerbait fishing, that kind of stuff like that. Anywhere in the United States is, you know, for a couple of hours is usually fantastic. Then you go to the jigs or your worms and stuff like that later on in the day.
Right. You brought up a good point with the COVID and everything like that. There are so many people that got into fishing this year. A lot of it's new for them. And I think a lot of us that are seasoned understand that top water, especially those frogs early and late. But for those folks just getting into, why don't you talk a little bit about the techniques involved in throwing those frogs, those rivets?
Well, you know, if you're starting out, I think the most important thing is, you know, the rivet is kind of a throw. I call it a reel it, and, you know, just reel it frog, reaction bite frog. We also got another one and a couple more at floats. But, you know, rigging up a rivet, the beginner starting out with needs a medium to a medium heavy rod. It's not really a spinning reel type bait. If you're fishing over real heavy cover, you need a medium heavy 7.5 foot rod. And I use braid 30, 40, you know, all the way up to 65 pounds core where I'm fishing braid line. And the hook we got probably helps you more than anything is that double take hook with the 2 hooks. It goes through the legs of the little frog, and you know, you just throw it in, reel it. Now, if you're going into the other things that we got, the top toad and the popping toad, you can do the same thing, but you also can stop it and pop it just like a popper. A popper works so good, like a popper early in the morning. Same thing with the frogs. You know, something on top of the water early in the morning is going to, hotter the weather, the better that works.
Right. And that goes even for evening bites, kind of the same thing, right?
Same thing in the evenings. We have some tournament circuits down here. They start at 5 to 8, 3 hours on Sam Rayburn and Toledo Bend. And they catch about as many, I'm thinking more big fish later than they do early. And that's not uncommon for the summertime fishing. You know, your big fish will chase the shad and the perch into the shallow bays or creeks or whatever, you know, later. And they do better in the mornings.
Right. How about just your old traditional Stanley jig with a big old trailer or something? Why don't you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's probably responsible for getting quite a lot of big bass.
Yeah. Well, you know, the amateurs on jig fishing is kind of hard. The main thing is on a jig fishing, any size jig that you do, the number one thing you got to do is get confidence in it. And once you catch a couple of, you know, nice fish on it, get some confidence on it, just, you know, kind of slow down and fish it kind of like a worm, put a little bit more action in it, and set the hook quicker on a jig than you do a worm. And, you know, right now on Sam Rayburn, if you fish a tournament over here, you know, 5 fish, it weighs 30 pounds, 28 pounds, 3 fish, it weighs 21 pounds. It's not uncommon for our lakes down here. somebody will get on them. Not everybody. 10th place might be 20 pounds and 30 pounds for first place, but I'd say a great big zoom, 10-inch worm, 10, 11, 12-inch worm, and a Stanley jig around the brush piles, stump beds, off the points, the drop-offs in 18 to 20, 25 foot of water. If you don't learn how to do that, you probably not going to win. Now, you can place with a frog on the bank in June, July, and August, September, but you're probably not going to win.
Right. That's kind of interesting. You're saying a trailer that big. I mean, I'm used to throwing a Stanley jig with a small crawl trailer or something like that, but a 10-inch worm, that's really aggressive.
I take it back. The worm by itself, like with worm.
Oh, okay.
Bait.
I'm sorry.
I put little crawfish, we make a debug, zoom, speed crawl. It's got a lot of action. And Gene Lalou salt crawl, the big one, is a real good trailer. I use a crawl or something like that for the trailers. Now, a little hell crawl worm for you guys is from up north around the smallmouth. Little bitty crawl worm on the back of a 3/16, 5/16 half-ounce jig, a shorter compact bait. Well, that's your smallmouth bait.
Okay. Well, that's really big up here, smallmouth. What do you suggest for the difference between like muddy water and clear water? Because we got some, the rains come through here and they get things muddied up. But we got some crystal clear lakes up here, and the fish are just really spooky when you get that clear water.
Right. Back in my days when I used to fish the B.A.S.S, we fished, 1,000 Islands, so a lot of lakes, Finger Lakes, whatever. And to me, your plastic, your little jigs, the clear colored jigs or a little brown, something that imitates a crawfish or a perch in the clear water. I use 10 to 12 pound test line instead of 20, smaller line, and make the bait littler. Back to that little Hell's crawl worm. It's small. It's only 3 inches long, start off, and I cut 1 inch on them. The little pinchers would just barely stick out, like the skirt, they would just barely stick out. And to me, that's the best bait. Nowadays, you got your drop shot. We got a little pocket worm, a little bitty worm. It's hollow. It's 5.5 inches long. Zoom's got some of them, little finesse worms like that. And we drop shot that, or Texas rig it, or shaky head, whatever, in your clear water.
How about for muddy water? What do you recommend for when it gets a little bit mucked up?
Anytime I pull up to a lake and I can only see about 8 inches to a foot and less, I'm going to be probably throwing a spinnerbait number 1, no doubt. You got your reaction strikes from your vibration from your blades, your wedge blades, and your Stanley baits like that, or a chatter jig, or some kind of swim jig like that in muddy water. Always seems like your reds and oranges, chartreuses, your more of a opaque colors seem to work better.
Okay, that's really, really good, because we have changing conditions here all the time, and tips like that.
We do the same thing on even Sam Rayburn. We get 6-8 inches of rain up towards Tyler, up the country, 80 to 90 miles, and it comes down to Angelina and the Toyac River or whatever river it might be, and the upper end of it, it's getting so muddy, and so the average guy runs from that muddy water. And we found out in the last 10 years of doing it, you don't run from that muddy water. You just change your positioning of your boat, the color of your baits, and fish. The bass don't leave. And to me, they're easier to catch in muddy, than clear.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's good to know. They're great tips. But that covers some of the warm water fishing. I mean, before we leave talking about warm water, what do you still fish shallow, or do you back off and go a little bit deeper once the temperatures really start pushing up there?
Well, usually, like I said, if you'll find shallow water next to deep water, back up in a creek where the creek bend makes up next to the real close to the grass bed, or the river channels or the main lake points where it's got shallow water with lots of cover, hydrilla, coontail, lily pads, whatever, but it runs close to the deep water. Those fish is going to come out of 20, 30 foot of water early and late, and they're going to run to usually where the shad or the bluegill's at in all the lakes, no matter where you're at. And that's why early I concentrate on clay drop-offs and deep water close to a feeding area.
Okay.
That's what we do when it starts getting really hot.
That's great advice there. Good tips to know. Now, how about as we approach the fall season? You know, things are going to start cooling down over the next several weeks, and I know the patterns are going to start to change. Water temperatures are going to start to drop. How do you play that, especially during the transition?
Well, after we usually have our first real good cold front down here in Texas, usually in November, about the same time. Excuse me. For deer season opens is when the bass go crazy at the same time. You go deer hunting down here in Texas, but the shed usually goes up the creek in the fall of the year and cover. We throw a frog, just a whole bunch in the back of the creeks after the rains in the fall of the years. And the shed starts going back to the back of the creeks and the pockets and up the rivers and stuff like that, and concentrate, in 3 to 8 foot of water. My favorite depth of water fishing in New York, Florida, it don't matter. It seemed like there's a magic depth of about between 6 and 8 foot, 7 foot. It's always some kind of fish at that depth. I don't care what time of the year it is, whether it's cold or hot, and clear or muddy. It's it seemed like that 4 to 8 foot right there. It's always kept. Maybe it's only 10% of the fish, but those are a lot easier to catch than the ones that's out there in 25 foot of water.
Sure, and they're probably hungrier too. Okay, great. How about we didn't touch on springtime? What's your favorite pattern in the spring? I know all of us get cabin fever, after a good winter, but I'm sure you fish wintertime too. But once spring rolls around, how about folks getting out on some of these springtime bass?
Well, to me, when I go fishing in the spring, I got a spinnerbait tied on, chatterbait, swim bait, and probably about 2 or 3 different kinds of jigs, because the fish is going to be holding usually in the spring of the year on almost all the lakes nationwide. You're going to have a influence of fresh water, and those fish, I don't care where they're at, they're going to come to that fresh water.
Right.
That's where most of the bait fish is. And so I like to swim a jig or pitch a jig at the cover, the buck bushes or lily pad. It don't matter what kind of cover. I like to throw a jig. That was kind of born into me from ever, because I was the kind of guy that fishes B.A.S.S tournaments over the 80s and the 90s, the 204 or whatever. I never went for a limit. I always went to try to catch bigger fish, and then go from there. So the jig to me and the spinnerbait probably is the primary two baits that I'd throw in the spring of the year.
Yeah, that was my next question to you. What is your favorite baits to throw? If you have a go-to bait, what would it be?
Well, like I said, I'd hate to pick between them two, but you never can throw out down here in Texas for 30 years. Mr. Chambers me go way back. He's passed away now, but he used to send me boxes of lizards to help him get them started down here in Texas back in the 80s. I think we did a real good job. If you go to the store and you look at 150 pegs of Zoom products, I think we did a real good job of helping him get it started.
Yeah, absolutely. That's real good stuff. So do you fish much? You don't have smallmouth down there, do you, in Texas?
We have some of the lakes over, out in West Texas, Northwest Texas. We have some, Buchanan, and Clifford probably knows a lot more about that, because I'm staying around here around Sam. I don't leave Conroe, Livingston, Sam Rayburn, and Toledo. I mean, that's less than a 2-hour drive to all of them. Besides the private lake up by Lake Fort, that's about all my fishing I get to do now.
Yeah, I don't blame you there, especially if you can get on them pretty good, Hey, so Lonnie, what other tips do you have for all these folks that are getting into fishing now? It's easy for us that have been doing it a long time, but if we can pass something on to the younger guys and the folks just getting into it, what would it be, do you think? Stay simple? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's kind of like we started our bass club in the 70s, early 70s. 1972, we started our bass club. We had 30, 40 guys. I'm saying, if you really want to learn how to be a good fisherman, go get you a guide. Spend a couple $100 for whatever it costs to a guide to maybe carry you out for just a little while and teach you how to jig fish, or join a bass club, or both, and get some. It used to, a long time ago, we didn't have the different kind of stuff like what me and you're doing here on the internet stuff. You can go on the internet right now and find out how to jig fish. You can how to fish a Zoom lizard or a Stanley spinnerbait. You can go online and pretty well now teach yourself by looking at what we didn't used to have. And I would do that. I'd get as much knowledge as I could from any of the pro fishermen that's around your area, which I don't know any place that ain't got some of them. I know
Sure.
Tyler Faircloth is right here, some of the other pros is down here in Texas. And I love to go watch the new guys, the young guys. You know, I'm 75 and they're 35 or 40. And see the new techniques of the dip finders and the fish finders and stuff like what Garmin's got out and all the guys that's got out right now. I'm still learning and I'm 75. So talk to the people that know what you don't know. That'll help you more than anything.
I think that is absolutely great advice. We've been saying something similar for a while. So it looks like I'm on the right track anyway. Go see those guides. We talked about that before, guys. That's really, really good advice.
Yeah. I think Bass Pro Shop nationwide, and I think Dick's does, and some of your major sporting goods now have 3 or 4 of the pros come in and give sometime a 2 or 3 day seminars. Go to every one of them because the guys do that for a living, and they're not going to be bullying you around. They're going to tell you the truth.
Yeah, that's true. And come that late winter season, you got the outdoor show season. I mean, all the outdoor shows have tons of seminars too. So be sure you get out and hit some of them as well.
I don't know. Me and Clifford and John have been working on some new baits at Stanley Jigs. We're really excited. After doing this for 40 years, we don't get excited about too much, but I can't. Clifford won't let me show you what it is or even hardly talk about it, but it's a new bait. It's an old style of old bait that we redid and made it a lot better. You can present it better, you can fish it better, and you catch a lot more fish with it.
Well, if that's the one that Clifford's catching all the fish on and your grandson, I can't wait to see that when it comes out.
Well, I'm like I said, when we started fishing it, I've been messing with it for about 2 years, super tuning it in my pond and changing this and changing it. I think we got it pretty well. I think the fisherman's going to enjoy fishing with it. It's a good big fish bait, and like I say, you can present it in places that you've never had before. And
awesome.
We're excited about that. We're excited about, gosh, like I said, the frog fishing has still just been phenomenal all spring and summer long. And I just hope everybody stays safe with this virus going around and a lot of crazy people running around, and we won't go there, but be careful whatever you do on that kind of stuff. And, I don't know. Like I said a while ago, talk to your pros, learn how to jig fish. That's how you're going to win your tournaments. If you don't learn how to jig fish, you'll never be number one. I don't care where you're at. Well, I think most of the people is used to let me open up a rivet.
That's fine.
It's been around now for going on, close to 15 years, the little rivet. And that thing is what I call a reaction bait. You hook up. I run the legs. I don't know if we got time to, you want me to rig it up and show the people how to rig it up?
I have all the time you can spare, sir.
Okay. You take that's just a regular Stanley rivet, and that's a 5/0 hook, or you can use a 4/0, and you take your little spring and run it in the middle of you see how I'm holding the spring real still, and I'm turning the frog. You just keep turning it. It's got about 8 or 10 little circles on that patented hook where your frog won't come off. Once you get it all the way up on the nose, like that. I hope you can see me. And you got it like that. And then you run your frog up like that and run the sit through the legs. Can you see it going through the legs? I'm fixing to push it all the way through. Push it all the way through. Okay. And then you can skin hook it like that. Now you got a rivet that don't hang up, and you don't miss many fish with that double take hook like that. That's the best way to fish it that I know of right there, is just with a double take hook. Run through the legs, grit on, put you some 30 to 40 pound braid line on some kind of pretty heavy rigging, because you're going to set the hook hard with that right there. But that's the rivet. You do the same thing with a popping toad. We have one now, it's hollow. We have the toads. Hold on a minute, I'll get them all 3 of them there. I don't know if you can see all 3 of them. That's the rivet, the popping toad, and the toad. Those is our frog family that Stanley's, had so much luck with in the last 4 or 5 years.
And they've really caught some big fish, haven't they, Lonnie?
Oh yeah. I personally, I know this is going to sound bad to say, but I still use the rivet a lot. We catch a lot of fish with it. I call it a reaction strike because you're running across the top of the water, but over the last 3 or 4 years, that popping toad, the one you can run across the top of the water and stop it in the most likely place where a fish is at, you stop the bait, just let it sit there and twitch it, 2 or 3 times, and usually that's when you'll catch them. The biggest fish you're going to catch will be on that top toad. We've got spinner baits, and we went to, listen, I got to say this. When I started Stanley Jigs, I actually won my first tournament in December of '79, and my idol and best friend was Ricky Clunn and Larry Nixon and Tommy Martin and John Torrin, the Hemp Hill gang, and everybody used to hear. So those guys told me what it took to build a bait to win tournaments back in the early '80s. That's why our spinner baits, it's the only spinner bait known that it's on there. It's got 3 or 4 patents on it. The hand tied skirt, the tapered wire. See, this is 41 thousandths here. It is, it's 28 here, a new one has got actually 16. Then you got the wedge blade. That makes our spinner bait a little bit. You don't miss as many fish. You get more vibration. You catch more fish on it. And, that came from Ricky Clunn. Can you build me a spinnerbait that's real strong but real little? So that's what we did. We had it ground down from 41 to 20. And that's why our bait is still, to me, the best spinnerbait on the market. Before I forget it, don't forget, after this is all over, about October, November, when it cools off, you need to jump on a plane, and we'll go pick you up in Houston. You come up and spend about 3 days with us. We'll carry you to some Sam Rayburn and Toledo and private lake fishing.
I don't know how I could turn down a personal invitation from Lonnie Stanley. That is really, really awesome, guys. I thank you so much. How about that, guys? A personal invitation from Lonnie Stanley to come down and fish Sam Rayburn. How about that? How do you even think about that? You just go and do it. These guys are so awesome. The whole family there at Stanley Jigs. I am so happy to be working with them. Great, great folks. And doesn't have a Stanley jig in their tackle box too. I mean, think about it. They've been around forever. Great product. I just have I want to show you guys something here too. Hold on. I want to go through because we got a little surprise here from our friends at Stanley. They actually gave us, we'll talk about that in a second, but coming up for the giveaway, they gave us the ultimate tackle collection for a giveaway. So we're going to give that away, and that's going to be autographed by Stanley too. And then we'll talk about that whole thing, but it's a whole box of all these great Stanley jigs. They got some plastics in there, a lot of traditional lures I think you guys are like, but we're going to go ahead and move forward and see if we can't get on first off with our trophy board this week. Let's see what we got coming up. We got Missy Augustine. Yeah, John Augustine, we got your wife in there, and she was out fluking, and it looks like she took one of the bigger ones on the boat there. Great job, Missy. Also, Patrick Carey. Hey, nice little smallie there. Great work, Patrick. Patrick's always out getting into some nice fish, and actually he's online there. Thanks, Patrick. Mike Gillen got some nice bass. He was out there in the Poconos here. Justin Lerner, always out getting those big pike over New Jersey, hitting that Passaic. Great pike fishery. It's just, I got to get out and fish with Justin one of these days. He is just always on them. Here's a young TJ Alicia. I guess that's how you say him. I apologize if it's not. But 10-year-old got himself into some nice bass. That's a beauty right there. Congratulations. And also 5-year-old Mason Johnson. Great little guy there getting himself some perch. And also Bruce Pashley out getting in some striper, and I think they were on the Delaware as well. So great work there, Bruce. Well, that's going to kind of wrap up our trophy board for today. Thank you, everybody, for sending in those picks. I really, really appreciate it. And it's great to share. We can all share what everybody's catching, and we can get out and get on some of them as well. Now I think we're going to get into our trivia question, which is kind of exciting. And like I said, we're going to look at giving away this whole big pack of Stanley jigs. They call it the Ultimate Tackle Collection. And it's quite a bunch of tackle, and it's going to be autographed as well by Lonnie Stanley. So let's be sure we check that out. So what it is, our question this week, I know we talked about largemouth last week, but how many pounds is the world record smallmouth? Last week we didn't quite get it. Is it 11 pound, 15 ounce, 16 pound, 4 ounce, 19 pound, 8 ounce? What is your guess for the world record smallmouth. And the first person to give me that answer is going to get that pack of Stanley jigs. Let's see who's first to jump in on it. Hey, guys. Art Begley. Ryan Sturgis says 16. Nope, sorry. Art Begley says 8.6. Garrett Bedingfield, first up with 11 pounds, 15 ounces. Congratulations, Garrett. Garrett, I'm going to get with you after the show here, and we're going to take a look at getting you your information so I can get this package mailed out to you. Yeah, it's a 11-pound, 15-ounce smallmouth. Can you imagine that, guys? What a beast. And that was caught by David Hayes at Dale Hollow Reservoir in Tennessee. I think that was like, I don't know, 20 years or 30 years ago. It was quite a while ago, but that is a huge, huge smallmouth. Boy, there are so many people online today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you all had a chance to catch that interview with Lonnie. I apologize for the software mess up. That's me. We'll fix this stuff up next time, but it's a shame we couldn't get Lonnie on live, but it was such a great interview. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I thank you again for tuning in. Please remember, send me those pics. Special thanks again, Tim Keebler and Finseeker Guide Service, 215-262-4811. Get that trip in right now. Stanley Jigs, how can I say any more? A trip to Sam Rayburn. I'm on the plane. Also, Tony Majah Products, thefisherman.com, and be sure to email us those pictures at PoconoGeorge@outlook.com. And please check out our new website at PoconoOutdoorsGuide.com. Lots of great stuff on there. You can even comment on a blog we got going. So it's new. Check it out, okay? Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. We're going to catch you next week. And thank you all for tuning in to the Weekend Roundup. I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you.